Do you find yourself wondering about the mysteries hidden in the shadows? What drives a person to commit heinous acts of violence? Or why do some souls linger, unable to find peace? Are we alone in the universe? Or are mythical creatures lurking in our backyard? One thing is for certain, you've found your home. Welcome to Dark Academy, podcast of the macabre.
Welcome back. This is Southern Bells and Chilling Tales. I think we're going to go ahead and switch over to Dark Academy because I'm tired of talking about it.
Yay!
Dark Academy.
I was ready to just move on to Dark Academy.
Last time we talked about Elisa Lam, and we had mentioned something about the Norwegian death metal. And I was like, I actually think it's kind of big over there. Well, it was a specific case I was thinking about. But, God, this is so fucking tiny. Where are my glasses? So I said the crime rate was low. I can't weed it.
This is too scary.
It is pretty terrifying. So I said the crime rate was low, so it couldn't be the cause, but I was wrong. Apparently, I guess it's not that low. But there's a whole situation in the 90s where this one guy was self-harming on stage and eventually completed suicide.
Not on stage.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
Of course you asked me something I don't know. They were claiming to be Satan worshipers because they knew it pissed off Christians. And they burned a bunch of churches that were built on pagan holy sites, saying Christianity never had a place in Norway anyway. Because, you know, all the Viking gods.
Yeah.
Do you watch the Vikings episodes and all this?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they're so good.
Yeah, I've watched all of them.
I forget it exists sometimes. That's my life. But anyway, it came to a head with all this craziness where this one guy killed a former bandmate. It got pretty brutal. So I was saying it was sort of responsible for some of the crime rate at the time because I guess people were jumping on it.
I hate when people are like, I only murdered people because I listened to Norwegian death metal. Mm-hmm. Like, lie better. Find a better excuse.
That was kind of the 90s anyway, wasn't it? Because there were people that were blaming Eminem and other people for their crimes.
Yeah, because that's when they started putting that explicit part on the audio tapes, or so old tapes and CDs and stuff like that to let your parents know that it had explicit content.
Yeah.
Even when NWA came out, they tried to censor them relentlessly because the lyrics were not all like, we're so happy. It was like, this is the bullshit that goes down, and this is what we see every day. And even back then, people were like, oh, the children are going to hear about this and then do this. No. If somebody's dumb enough to listen to something or watch something and then go do something dumb, that's their own fault for being stupid.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I hate that crap.
Yeah. I might have told you this already, but I was listening to something on a psychology podcast. It's the APA. They had some guy on, and he's one of the very few who have actually studied the serial killers that have like a sexual component to it. Because there's serial killers that, even though it's crazy that they do it, the one that's the most baffling are the ones that do it for sexual gratification in some way, shape, or form. But they were saying that everybody wants to say it's because of your childhood or it's this or it's that. But apparently it has to be almost this complete, perfect storm of things that happen. So it's like maybe those contributed, but it wasn't the only contributing factor, and it did not cause you to do this. Kind of like you can't blame your mom for things you did. Sure, she might have fucked you up, but
you still
can't
made the choices
blame
that you
her.
made.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, nobody can make you do anything.
Right.
You yourself actually do it.
Yeah. But I get people can get all caught up in that. They think this is what's right and they're doing it for good, but whatever. I don't know.
I mean, I understand even people who join gangs for like safety and security and things of that nature. But that was still, well, I mean, because they do
I know.
in those bad neighborhoods. But you still made an active choice to join that.
I understand too, but then I'm laughing because it's sad that it ends up being the complete opposite. You're risking your life daily.
Yeah.
Sad.
And unfortunately, it's just the environment that they're in. But, I'm trying to save everybody.
Yeah, who am I?
All right, well, would you like to hear the tale for today?
What dark and chilling tale do you have for us today?
You'll be so proud of me because I did lots of backstory for this one. So I was going to start out with the rhyme, but then everything that I watched and saw already had the rhyme.
Okay.
So I don't know if I want to do it again. What do you think?
I think you should. I mean, why not? Because either we have people that listen because they're new to podcasts. Because when I started listening to podcasts, I'd never heard most of these stories. And all these other people are like, oh my God, I know everybody knows this story. And I'm like, don't tell me. But I know most people know this one, but they may not have actually heard the whole story,
Yeah.
Or it's people like me, and I'm guessing you, where I cannot hear these stories too many times. You can repeat it over and over, and I'll sing the rhyme right along with you. And I don't really remember the whole rhyme exactly. I mean, I know it's like 40 whacks or something. I can't remember.
Yeah. So I was thinking I'll do this in a creepy voice, and then I'll tell you what we're going to do.
Okay, I'm excited.
Does that work?
Yes.
Okay. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. And when she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. So, today I'm going to tell you the story of Lizzie Borden. Are you going to say something?
No. I almost did your little thing that you do, but I'm like, I don't want to overdo it. Okay, go.
Okay.
I love this story, by the way.
Thank you. I was excited to do this one, and like I said, you're going to be so proud because I did so much background on it. So,
yeah, I was like, oh, you're going to do a true crime one.
Yeah, there's so many of them, that it's like true crime and ghosts. So It's everything rolled into one. So this story takes place in Fall River, Massachusetts. So this is a town in Bristol County, Massachusetts, and it straddles the Massachusetts and the Rhode Island line. I love their town motto. It's "We'll try." So I'm like, me too, Fall River.
That should be our podcast motto.
It's like, yeah, I got that one.
Or like, listen.
Hey. So the falling river that gives the town its name is the Quickashawn River. And the word Quickashawn is a Wampanoag word. Make that sound better. It's a Wampanoag word because this area was actually the home of the Pocasset Wampanoag tribe before it was settled by the white man. So Quickashawn literally translates to falling river or leaping water. So that's where the town gets its name.
Okay.
So the city itself was established in 1803 after it separated from the city of Freetown, Massachusetts. Okay. There was actually a battle during the Revolutionary War that took place here, and it was called the Battle of Freetown. So from 1801 to 1900, it became the boom town for textile manufacturing. I looked this up. This was the conversion of fiber into yarn and then the yarn into fabric.
Okay.
Yeah, so after they do that, then the fabric can be dyed or processed further. So that's what textile manufacturing means.
Okay, I was wondering.
Yeah.
Because we have so many possible textiles now.
Well, I was thinking like back in the day, I think in 5th grade, we had to do a report on one state every 9 weeks or something like that. And I remember doing like textile manufacturing is the main export, but I didn't know what that was. So now I know.
And it's fabulous.
It's wonderful. Lizzie or Lizbeth Andrew Borden was born in Fall River on July 19th, 1860. Her parents were Andrew Jackson Borden, who was also born in Falls River in 1822, and her mother, Sarah Anthony Borden, born in 1823. So her mother later died of uterine congestion and spinal disease in 1863. So this left Andrew Borden a single father with 2 young daughters, Lizzie and her older sister Emma.
So you think that's like endometriosis?
I'm not.
And that pretty much what that is?
It could be, or maybe some sort of cancer.
Yeah.
Because they
That
didn't
sounds
really know
painful.
what all that was. It could have been fibroids that just got out of hand because they couldn't just go in and, I guess, remove them like they do now. So
Yeah.
But I will say one of the scariest parts of the story is imagining if I was like 2 years old and my sister was 4 and Daddy had to raise us. He'd be like, you got cheese at home, you got drinks at home, you don't need Barbies. Why are we going to the dentist? This is all expensive.
He's like, I gotta find a wife.
Immediately. And Andrew probably felt the same way. He later married his second wife, Abby, on June 6th, 1865. So the family resided at a home located at 232nd Street in Fall River, Massachusetts, and Andrew had purchased it in 1872. So it was originally a small 2-tenant home, but he had it remodeled so that it would fit his family. Apparently, he was very frugal, and the remodel was kind of a strange consolidation that created this family home in which, in order to get to one side of the house, you had to walk through every single room to get over there. So it actually made like a privacy issue.
Almost like a shotgun house, but in a house.
Yeah, so they had locks on almost every door, which is weird, but whatever.
I never heard that before.
Yeah. So Andrew Borden himself was known to be a made man. He'd grown up poor and made his wealth through some questionable means. So there are stories of him as an undertaker, slumlord. He sold eggs by the side of the road, and banking.
Hey, I mean, hustle.
Yeah. I mean, he was miserly, but he was going to get that money. So
he had to be a Capricorn. When was he born?
Hold on, let me look. Born in Falls River, 1822. I don't have his birthday.
Nothing else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
He sounds like a penny pinching Capricorn.
Well, I was laughing because the part where it says he would sell eggs by the side of the road, like he'd made his money in banking, and it embarrassed Lizzie and her sister Emma because he'd just go by the side of the road, and they're living in this not fancy side of town, but still everybody's well-to-do.
Yeah.
Out there selling his eggs by the side of the road.
Gotta make that money.
I guess.
I'm saying I totally get it because we're by no means rich, but we're okay. And Danny would do it. That's why I say Capricorn. He has no shame.
Danny would be like, I got to get this money, though.
There's a way to make some extra cash. He'd be like, shit.
I'm going to ride by your house now more often than not. I'll be like, I didn't see Danny out there with any eggs, so.
Girl, I can't say we're going to have chickens or eggs or like our own little garden without him going like, all right, then we're going to have a farm and then we're going to sell that shit. I'm like, I just want to feed us.
Look, I always thought it would be amazing to live on a farm, but when we went to Massachusetts, we went to the alpaca farm, and it was a working farm, and I got shat on by a chicken. And it ruined my tennis shoes, and I was like, fuck this farm. Fuck these chickens.
That's funny.
Yeah, so apparently I'm not meant to be a farmer's wife or a farmer, so.
Well, my little summer camp that I used to go to every summer, they had a farm. And we worked it a little bit. That was the first time I ever grew vegetables. And I was like, yeah, I'll try a radish. And loved it, weirdly. I was young. Used to ride horses. I stopped riding the horses, though, when the horse went into the stable and, like, shit with me on it. And I was like, get me off. Like, I know they do that now. But, I mean, I was little. I didn't ride another horse till I was in my late teens, if not early 20s.
It's funny how both of our stories ended with our lack of wanting to be on a farm due to shit. So.
And we talk about shit so much.
The brown lights. Okay. Well, actually, bringing shitting back, Andrew was overly frugal, which caused contention between him and his daughters because they wanted upgrades to the house, like indoor plumbing.
I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but what, how old, or like when was Lizzie born?
Lizzie was...
Like what year?
Lizzie was born in 1860.
Okay, and they got the house in 73, so she was 13?
In 72.
Okay, so
he
12.
purchased it, and then he remodeled the home, but he didn't even put in basic things that he could have afforded that most other people already had. Like indoor plumbing wasn't super expensive and a total shock. He was just pinching pennies, and he did not want to add that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was trying to figure out, because it sounds like he was almost 50 when he first did this, so I was like, maybe they were a little older. And I was like, maybe they didn't have as much before, and then now that they do, they're like, ooh, we're highfalutin, and now we get indoor plumbing, and what?
Yeah.
So, all right, sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. So, since their father, as a banker, ended up more of a high-standing citizen in the town of Fall River, the girls wanted to engage more in societal affairs. They were already really, really involved with their church. It was the Central Congregational Church.
Okay.
And then Lizzie herself taught Sunday school to immigrants who had recently come to the United States.
That's cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But
me either.
Even though she was doing such a good job, she was doing the Lord's work, she was not a stranger to the sins of the flesh.
I'm sorry. I always think that's so funny. Doing the Lord's work.
I thought I'd just add some drama in here. So, Lizzie had actually been accused of shoplifting in 1891 by a local merchant.
Who among us? Sorry.
Oh, Lord. Oh. And then in June of the same year, 1891, the Borden home was actually robbed of cash and jewelry, and the police suspected Lizzie of the crime. They just couldn't prove it.
Okay. Her own house?
Yes.
She's like 31? Okay, go ahead.
So, with the issue of their home being broken into and being robbed, Andrew Borden decides that he's going to keep all exterior doors locked at all times.
Okay.
Which, obviously there's no fire chief here because that's like a big problem, but whatever. So, they've got locks all in the house. You can't get out. Nobody's coming in or going out unless they know.
Okay.
So, though the home itself was pretty much a lovely place, the family depended on a single maid, and her name was Bridget Sullivan. So, the Borden women, Abby, Emma, and Lizzie, were to help keep the home together, and they had chores that they had to do daily. So, on August 3rd, 1892, John Morse, who's the maternal uncle of Lizzie and Emma, came to visit and stayed the night. He'd come to town to visit his relatives, and he left the next day, early in the day, to begin calling on his relatives. So on August 4th, 1892, John Morse is calling on relatives, and Emma's out of the house making visits. Mr. Borden comes down to have breakfast, and then went to conduct business around 9 a.m. This includes mailing some letters that Lizzie had given him and asked him to put in the post. This left Abby Borden upstairs changing out the room that Morse had left, while the maid, Bridget, was outside washing windows.
Okay.
Lizzie was supposedly in the home, though no one can pinpoint what room she was in or what she was doing. Later in the day, about 11 o'clock, Andrew Borden comes home, and Bridget the maid unlocks the door to allow him in. She helps him change out of his shoes into his slippers, and he decides to lay down on the couch to take a nap. And then Bridget states that she goes upstairs to her own room in the attic to also lay down. So not long after, maybe around 11:15, Lizzie supposedly comes downstairs and discovers her father's lifeless body, which had been hatcheted all in the head. So she goes to get Bridget and says, "Bridget, come down. Someone's killed father." They call the police. They come out and they also discover Abby's body upstairs. After some investigative work, they realized that Abby's death occurred at least an hour before Andrew's murder. So Abby was killed with a hatchet as well, but she apparently faced down her killer.
Like fought back.
Right. So all of the hits were to the front of her. So like maybe she was doing something in the room, turned around, saw them, and then they struck her directly in the face. Andrew had been struck while he was laying down with the same hatchet, most likely, but he had been struck 10 to 11 times, with all of the strikes going to his head and face.
So all within about 15 minutes?
Andrew's murder, yes, because he came home around 11, and then around 11:15 is when Lizzie says she finds him.
Okay.
And then remember, Abby upstairs, she's been dead for an entire hour, and nobody has noticed.
Right.
So this all occurs on August 4th, and then August 6th, a funeral is held in the Borden home for Andrew and Abby.
It always freaks me out.
Yeah.
I know that was normal, but...
Yeah, it is kind of weird, though. Like, it would be scary. And you know I like scary, but there's dead people in your house. Yeah. So it's like, wait a minute. Finally, on August 11th, so not too far, this is all pretty much happening quite quickly, Lizzie is arrested as the main suspect in the murders.
Okay.
So she's indicted, a trial commences, and ultimately Lizzie is found not guilty in 1893. Everything was purely circumstantial. So people would say that they saw her burning a dress, or she told somebody she wanted some poison. So all of this stuff that is just hearsay, but no actual factual evidence that Lizzie had the hatchet, killed Abby, and then killed Andrew. Okay. After she was found not guilty, she and her sister Emma actually came into their father's fortune. But obviously they were still ostracized by the Fall River community. Lizzie even goes so far as to change her name to Lizbeth, which really isn't that big of a change, but bless her heart.
She tried.
Not very hard, but she tried a little bit. But she bore the scarlet letter of being a murderer until her death on June 1st, 1927.
Yeah.
Like, you can't say Lizzie Borden and not think she killed her family. And that rhyme is known, everywhere. I remember being little and jumping rope outside and showing Mama, hey, look, I can jump rope. And she taught me that to jump rope to. Yeah.
Your mom?
And I was like, wow.
Of course she did.
That explains so much, doesn't it? But it's really interesting when you think about they stayed in Fall River. So they didn't leave that town, even though everybody in that town assumed that Lizzie had killed Andrew Borden.
Yeah, I think I would have to move.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I would just be ashamed. Even if I didn't do it, I would still be ashamed that everybody thought that I could go kill my dad and kill my stepmom, you know?
Maybe it was a stubborn thing, though. Like, you will not run me out of town, you know?
I guess, but I'd have been like, deuces. Especially if I had all that money. Because they came into a lot of it. And what I read was that Emma, as the oldest daughter, she actually inherited the fortune. But she split it evenly with Lizzie.
That's good. I hate to hear about families fighting over money.
And I guess, what are you going to say? I'm sorry that our parents are dead. I got all this money and everybody thinks you're evil. The least you could do is share the money.
Some people will.
Yeah.
Even without the evil part. Too bad they give it to me.
This is my money. You might have worked for it, but it's mine now.
Yes.
Yeah. The house now actually stands as a museum and a bed and breakfast. So you can rent a room for the night. You can just come for a ghost tour, or you can stay for a ghost hunt. But the rule is there are no Ouija boards allowed. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that. I heard they used to have one there, but I think somebody stole it or something. I might be thinking of a different house, but...
No, in the past, Ouija boards were brought in by guests, and that's one of the reasons now that this rule exists. Even if you look it up online, no Ouija boards are allowed. So.
I might be thinking of a different house, but there was one that they used to have one. Like, it was like when you rented the house. I'm trying to remember. It was one of the other podcasts I listened to. It's a new one. I've only heard a couple of theirs, and they said they went there, and it was the second time. The first time they went there, they had like a whole bunch of things that you could use.
Yeah.
Like ghost hunting equipment and all that kind of stuff. And they also had a Ouija board, but then I think somebody actually stole it.
You know, as much as Mom agrees with exploring the other side and everything like that, she's a solid no on the Ouija board. So if my weird mama says it's too far, it's too far.
I know everybody. I don't know how anybody uses it after hearing so many horror stories from it.
Some people don't believe, and maybe that's a big part of it. I'm not really sure. All I know is I'm not touching it. So let's talk about the ghosts. You know, that's my favorite thing.
Okay.
So many visitors to the house have stated that there is a closet door on the first floor that just randomly opens on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Photos have been taken throughout the house, so in lots of different rooms on different floors, in which a random woman who wasn't present is seen on the photos.
Okay.
Shadow figures have been seen with the naked eye, and they've also been caught on camera next to the couch where Andrew Borden took his very last nap. And the fire alarm is known to randomly alert, stop, and then alert again during the night. And it usually begins at 3 a.m., which we all know is the witching hour.
The witching hour.
The witching hour.
I have a thing with that, actually. Okay. First of all, does it change with daylight savings time?
Kristen.
It's a valid question. Like, are the ghosts with us on daylight savings? I'm sorry.
The ghosts are like, Benjamin Franklin, why'd you put this shit together? Like, we're all disappointed in you. Like, nobody talked to Benjamin today.
Okay, I also thought, you know, what if that's kind of the time that we're on, like, the complete opposite? I know it's not, like, the actual opposite side of the sun, but maybe it's something to do with a certain direction away from the sun. I don't know.
I think it's 3 a.m. because 3 is supposed to be the Holy Trinity. So it's 3 a.m., it's dark, it's scary, and somebody made it up. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So one of the coolest things that's been noted is this specific video evidence that a paranormal group caught. So they had set a DVR in place and went to go do their investigation. And the camera turned by itself in another direction. So when they came back through, they noticed that the camera had moved. They put it back into place, and then it moves again in the same direction right in front of their eyes.
Like, it moves on its own, or is it one of those cameras that's supposed to move toward movement?
No, so it just moves on its own.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If I saw something move like that, that would scare the crap out of me. There's also up in the attic, which was Bridget's room.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some talk wondering if she was Lizzie's accomplice.
Mm-hmm.
That was never proven. However, up in her attic room, they have the furniture in there because it's a place you can stay. It's the part of the bed and breakfast. Of course, it's not the furniture that was originally there. But the drawers in her room are known to just randomly open on their own.
Is the house off balance?
I don't think so, or they would just always be open.
I mean, not necessarily, but I mean, especially because, like, if you walk and then it, like, adjusts it, you know what I mean? But I definitely believe there's some shit going on out there, don't get me wrong. But I want to know if it's possible to debunk, as Zach's favorite word.
Yes.
Like, if it is possible to debunk, because I like to really narrow in on those things that are like, what the fuck?
Well, you'll have to go stay there and see if you can debunk it.
I got a door that's always closing on its own, and it's creepy, but I know that it must be off balance or something.
Girl, that's a ghost.
I refuse.
It's a ghost.
It's the same area that they're all... I will not acknowledge.
You will not acknowledge that everybody else agrees.
You're not supposed to talk to it.
Okay, that doesn't mean it's not there.
I'm not acknowledging.
Okay, I bet Haley agrees with me.
Haley thinks everything's haunted, though, so she's not a reliable source.
Okay.
She's biased.
Well, tell me how you would feel about this. Dark masses are seen blocking doors in the attic, so again, Bridget's room, and also down in the basement. So the dark, shadowy figure stands guard at the door, and usually this is occurring when women are present. So they're like blocking the women into either the attic or the basement.
Oh, shit.
So what would you do?
I was thinking, like, I wouldn't go in there, but if I'm already in there...
Yeah, so if you're...
Is there a window exit?
Not in the basement.
And there's usually like a little... I don't know nothing about basements here in Florida. Only from what I've seen on movies. There's usually like a little window, but right now my fat ass couldn't get out of that.
It'll be like in Scream, where Rose McGowan's trying to get through the dog door, and everybody's like, girl, your hips are never going to make it through there. Just lay down and die.
I'm surprised her boobs did. That is one of the best scenes, even though it seems so unrealistic that door, I don't know.
That probably is one of the reasons why I had anorexia, because I was like, damn, I gotta be able
I gotta be able to get out.
I might be covered in monkey fur, but I am thin enough to get through the fucking dog door.
She stays slathered up.
So,
why are you greasy? Just in case.
Just in case. Just in case. So, one of the suites at this bed and breakfast is known as the Abby and Andrew suite. And this one is creepy. So there's a woman in a white nightgown that's been seen moving through the bedroom. So it'll move from like one bedroom to the other. Mm-hmm. And then the doorknob also turns on its own, like somebody's trying to come in. And one of the stories that I read online was this gentleman and his wife were actually staying there in the suite. And I guess the wife had gone to do something or wasn't with the husband. And he seriously thought she was trying to get in because the knob kept turning like somebody was trying to open the door. And he's like, come in. What's wrong? Can you not open it? And so he gets up to open it and there was nobody there. And the wife wasn't even anywhere near the room.
There's certain things that are just extra, and it's usually the smallest things, but something about somebody messing with the doorknob and then there being nobody there, no.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about that, but
Well, I really enjoyed doing the research on this. There's a lot of stuff that's been said on like Ghost Adventures and even Dead Files that I'm not going to bring up because I think it's disrespectful to the family.
Like what?
Girl.
I need the tea.
So, well, if you want to know, I wrote down, so it's Ghost Adventures Season 6, Episode 4, and Dead Files Season 1, Episode 19. So they bring in, of course, Amy is a medium.
Yeah.
The Ghost Adventures have people that they bring in that state that they're mediums. Mm-hmm. That state that Lizzie is there and Mr. Borden is there and the specific reasons why, which again, like if you can't prove it, I don't think that's appropriate to just be putting information out there.
Yeah.
But I definitely think like these kind of atrocities can't have happened in this house. It's still a cold case. Like it's never been solved. And let's face it, it's 2024. They're not going to solve this one. It's going to be like Villisca. They're never going to know what happened. I told you, Villisca I will not go to. Lizzie Borden house I would stay at. But,
really? With all that shit?
I would stay at the Lizzie Borden house because those were adults that were killed. I'm not staying in a place where little innocent babies were.
Girl, I'd rather camp out in the front yard than be...
So, I mean, I would definitely stay at the Lizzie Borden house. I think it would...
My walkie-talkie.
It would be... I'll be like, Kristen, it's okay. You can come in. And you'll be like, I'm fine in my tent. Thank you. Over.
I see one little darkness that even remotely looks like a shadow. I'm out.
I'd be like, you didn't even come in the house yet.
It's not safe. That's a lot going on.
So, but I did find out, I guess there's like a company that purchases some of these places to turn them into museums and to do the ghost hunts. And the company that owns this house, the Lizzy Borden house, owns Villisca.
Oh, okay. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's cool. I mean, I like that we have the ability to see it because it's like, I know it's kind of dark and, I mean, not kind of, but it is dark. And I know it could be seen as disrespectful, but if places like this commit to keeping it respectful, you know, to a degree, I know that's kind of hard to do when you're letting people stay over and then they're recording and saying whatever they're saying, but you can't control everything everybody's saying. But
well, I think after you sign up for one of those shows, I mean, what are you going to say? Because I'm sure you're getting paid for it. Mm-hmm. But I appreciate that they say no Ouija boards. And I know that was something in another story that we had done, and I wonder if it was Villisca.
Maybe.
And maybe that's like just a blanket rule. But I would definitely be interested in going and staying at this house. I think it would be interesting.
I would. I'm not sleeping, though.
You're just going to stay awake all night?
It's not hard for me.
So, but that is the story of the Lizzy Borden murders. They were not axe murders. They were hatchet murders. And the ghosts that still reside on 2nd Street in Fall River, Massachusetts.
Okay. I got a lot of questions.
Okay. I may or may not have answers. Let's go.
If you don't, it's okay. So I never thought about the axe thing because isn't there some place? No, that's somewhere else. There's so many axe murders. It's hard not to get them mixed up. Yeah. Well, I honestly think, you know, murderers tend to like, oh, that seems like a good way to murder. They did it. I can do it. Like, oh yeah, that kills somebody. Like right now, it's like mass shootings, you know, unfortunately. But it's like, that's kind of the common what people do. Like before when it was knives, I mean, people would stab with knives, but have you heard this? This is totally a tangent, but over in England, London, actually, they have like a sword problem.
Because they don't allow guns?
People are going around carrying swords. But they say it's getting easier to get guns, or at least that's the info I get on TikTok.
Okay. Well, if TikTok says it, it must be right.
But it's people that live there that are saying it, so I don't know. But, and then it was like the serial killer era, and then there was the axe time, and it just seems like around this time, that was kind of a common way to kill people.
I'm sure it's just based off of what is around.
Available
and reliable.
So awful. But you said it was a hatchet, not
an axe.
Okay. Because I originally was like, okay. How many times did they actually get whacked? Because I know it wasn't 40 and 41. It was less, but.
Yeah, it was less. So, Andrew had been struck 10 to 11 times. So, Abby's was less than that, but his was 10 to 11. And it was all to his face and his head. So, like, he must have been asleep and somebody came up on him and, like, whacked that man. But even with one, which would have killed him, they didn't stop. 10 to 11. Yeah. Like, you took time. And even with Abby, like, she turned around, she faced you, and you were still. Because hers were all to the front of her, like her face, her body, her chest, and her shoulders, because she was facing the person.
Yeah. Because originally I was thinking that would be a lot with an axe, you know, especially for a female. And I know they did work around the house and probably outside, and I don't know a lot about the house. I mean, not the house itself, but kind of like what they had outside. I saw a movie. What's the girl's name? She's such a good actress.
Christina Ricci?
No. I saw that one, but that was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of old. No, there's a newer one.
Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, she plays the maid, Bridget. I'm talking about the lady that plays, she's got a foreign name. Blonde hair. She usually plays very profound parts. I mean, she's just like one of those actresses that only does really good roles that require some major acting chops. Oh, what is her name? I'm going to look it up real quick.
Okay.
I think it was a series, was it? No, that was Christina Ricci. I'm not sure I saw hers.
It was not good.
No.
Hers, they made a character who wanted to be super in society and was kind of coquettish and all this stuff. And I'm like, there's not really evidence for that.
Okay. Chloe Savini.
Oh, yeah.
Is the one that played her. Yeah, she's such a good actress. But yeah, it was like she wanted to be in society. They had her that way too. But in this one, did you see it? The one with Chloe Savini?
I can't remember.
They made it out like she and Bridget were lovers. Like that's one of the theories.
Well, and that's one of the things that I was like, I'm not going to talk about this. Was about...
And I'm like, let's talk about it.
Yeah, was about the sexual orientation of Lizzie. Mm-hmm. Was there abuse in the home? What kind of abuse was it? Was that one of the reasons why she may have killed her father? But again, there's no evidence to that. It's just like, this could have been what happened. This could have been a reason. But I mean...
Yeah, I definitely... Like, do you think she did it after you read all this stuff?
I think the odds are likely that, yes, she did it.
Yeah, I'm so... Because this is so typical of me. It sounds like there's enough evidence that she didn't, and there's enough evidence that she did. But I don't know. It's such a fascinating story. It's been a while since I've heard like a real good deep dive into all of those theories and the back and forths of like whether she did or didn't do it. But as far as the ghosts are concerned, I know I just jumped topics, but as far as the ghosts are concerned, I never understand why they would think Lizzie would be there when she didn't die there. Like, did her ghost just like travel? If that was her, of course, theory-wise.
You also have to think about the suffering that she went through because of what occurred in that house.
Because of her dad and all that? Like, why would you want to stay there then? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, even if you didn't, say you did not do it, you still came downstairs and saw your dad's hatcheted face with his blood and brains and gore everywhere. That's traumatic as hell.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, though. They moved away from it. Like, why would you go back?
When did they move away from it?
They moved to a different house. She and, what's the sister's name?
Emma, but they're still in the same town.
Yeah, but they moved to a different house.
Yeah, but you're still in the same town. Like, you're still going to see where your dad worked. All the people who knew your dad.
No, I'm saying, like, why would she go back to that house, though?
As a ghost?
Yeah.
Because of the trauma.
I don't get it.
I don't think necessarily that ghosts always have a choice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because, I mean, there are things about it that I get where people get the reasoning why ghosts are there and why they stay there. And it makes sense where that would come from. And also people who talk to the dead or say they do, and that's why they stay there. But my brain is a math brain. Sorry, it just is what it is. And it's like the whole logic and variables and all this kind of stuff. And like, what variable is it that keeps certain people here? Because there's a lot of tragedy that happens. There's a lot of crazy things like this that happen. I mean, there's like these crazy car accidents. There's like so many murders that are awful that it's like, why didn't they stay? Or all the wars. And I mean, there's probably not an area that didn't have some war with some terrible fighting and some terrible murders or, whatever you want to call it. That like, why isn't there a ghost everywhere there was a tragic murder or there was a tragic event or I don't know. Or like every suicide,
I mean, there could be residual. I know some of it's probably like with what you were saying with wars and stuff like that. I think it also matters if the people were willingly sacrificing their lives for it or if they were made to. I think that plays a role. And then I think it also plays a role in the person themselves and their soul. Like, I'm not I'm not afraid to die because I know where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
But if I didn't know where I was going, would I be ready to move on when I die? Or some say that ghosts don't necessarily know that they're dead because it happened very quickly. So it could be something like that. So I don't always think there's a choice.
Well, that's what I mean.
But I think there are factors that come into play.
Right. I need to know what these factors are. Like, it's obviously, if all of that is true, obviously there's some variable that we don't know and we don't have for this little equation of what keeps a ghost here. Because, I mean, if we did, we could maybe help them move on.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I've heard them say sometimes it's like, oh, they just need to have their story out there, or you got to let them know that they're dead and help them find the light, you know, all these different things. Yeah. But I don't know.
I don't think we'll ever know. That's why it's so interesting, is because, you know, if you could puzzle it out, if you could figure it out, it wouldn't be interesting anymore. It would just be a problem solved. So,
exactly. That's why I like mysteries. And you're like, I want to know who did it. I mean, in modern times, if there's somebody that needs to be prosecuted for something, I definitely want to know. But kind of the older mysteries where it's like, nobody's going to ever be prosecuted for this, is way too old. I'm like, keep it a mystery. Because it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. But that is the story of Lizzy Borden and the ghosts.
And the ghosts.
And the ghosts.
I'm sorry, one more thing. They don't know, other than the family, they don't know what else these ghosts could be. Is this the place I think I read or heard there was like something else here before the house, and that's why they think maybe it might be haunted? I'm mixing up on my haunts. Let me stop.
So most people think that Lizzie is there and Andrew is there.
Okay.
There is some light evidence that maybe Abby could be there, but definitely Lizzie and Andrew. So they think like Andrew is that dark shadow that prevents ladies from leaving the attic or the basement.
Okay.
Due to the fact that Bridget was up in the attics, apparently sleeping while he was killed, and then, you know.
All right. Well, that was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. And we are officially now switching over to Dark Academy. Hope you join us next time. Bye.
Bye.